And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Bill Maher has been tearing into woke arguments lately like it's a full-time sport. And this time his sights landed squarely on Whoopi Goldberg. And honestly, given her string of questionable comments over the past few years, many viewers felt this one had been building for a while. Maher didn't just criticize her. He broke down her statements point by point, the kind of takedown that leaves the target scrambling to recover. So what did Whoopi say that set him off, and how did his response end up rattling the online activist crowd that usually backs her? Stick around because the reaction to this one spread fast, and the backlash was louder than anyone expected.
I've got to get past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
Whoopi decided to step into the debate after Sunny Hostin's earlier exchange with Maher turned into a public embarrassment online, and it felt like she was stepping in as reinforcement for the show. Instead of letting it fade, The View doubled down and Whoopi walked right into the conversation ready to defend the team. Viewers described it like she came in swinging before the discussion even started. But once the back and forth began, things didn't go the way she seemed to expect, and the more she pushed, the more Maher pushed back with specifics she couldn't easily dismiss.
Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
In typical Whoopi fashion, she leaned heavily into emotional framing instead of sticking to the core argument. Maher had been talking about black voters wanting economic opportunity, stability, and better policing. It was a straightforward point. But Whoopi veered into a completely different tangent about political personalities and background credentials that didn't line up with what he was saying. It sounded more like diversion than rebuttal, and Maher wasn't willing to let that drift pass unchecked. Once he pointed out where the logic broke down, the contrast between the two approaches became hard to miss.
Tear down statues of Lincoln and get rid of the police. Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Maher didn't sugarcoat his pushback. He called out what he saw as empty rhetoric, something critics say has become common on The View. The show often leans more on emotional applause lines than grounded reasoning, and this exchange put that pattern on full display. The panel has a long history of delivering takes that spark outrage more than clarity, but this time the tone crossed into something even more chaotic. It felt like the conversation was less about discussing an idea and more about defending a narrative at all costs.
Is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right.
For context, the debate centered around President Joe Biden pardoning his son Hunter after his legal troubles, a move that triggered huge public reaction. Critics argued that it undermined the claim that no one is above the law. Supporters tried to frame it differently, but the optics were tough to ignore. That's where Charlemagne the God came in during his appearance on the show, pressing the point that accountability should apply across the board. Instead of addressing that head-on, Whoopi tried to justify the situation in a way that only deepened the divide in the conversation.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed his mind.
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a sudden?
No, I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
Her defense was that Biden hadn't technically contradicted himself, a claim many observers immediately disagreed with. Video clips and earlier statements were already circulating online, and people were quick to respond. Rather than acknowledging the inconsistency, she tried to soften the narrative, and that only raised more questions. The attempt to reframe the situation didn't calm the criticism. It fueled it.
The nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law.
Charlemagne's reaction said a lot without him saying much at all. The look on his face suggested disbelief as the conversation drifted further from the core issue. Then Whoopi added that maybe Biden changed his stance because he was tired of being attacked. That argument landed awkwardly. It sounded less like justification and more like rationalizing double standards, and the audience reaction reflected that.
I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. They don't have to.
This is where critics argue that selective outrage becomes impossible to ignore. When someone outside their ideological circle makes a mistake, the condemnation comes fast and loud. But when it's someone close to their own side, the tone suddenly softens and excuses appear. That inconsistency is exactly what Maher took aim at. Instead of joining the emotional defense, he challenged the logic behind it, and his response cut straight through the performance element of the conversation.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit.
Maher's point was simple. If fairness and accountability are universal values, they should apply universally. The moment exceptions start appearing for the powerful or politically connected, credibility collapses. He called out the double standard openly, saying what many viewers had already been thinking. Whether people agreed or disagreed with him, the criticism struck a nerve because it highlighted a problem larger than just one case or one individual.
Appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden.
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I'm
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not.
He also pointed to how major media outlets handled the Hunter Biden story when it first surfaced, noting how quickly many dismissed or downplayed it. Instead of fully examining the details, coverage often shifted toward protecting political narratives. Whoopi echoed some of those talking points on air, but Maher pushed back. He wasn't interested in defending a side. He wanted the truth addressed directly without filters or convenient edits.
Above any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life. And when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
His broader critique was that the view often leans toward confrontation rather than conversation when disagreement appears. Instead of engaging alternative viewpoints, those perspectives are sometimes brushed aside or mocked. That environment doesn't encourage honest debate. Turns it into spectacle. Maher called that behavior out openly, and his refusal to back down made the moment hit harder than usual.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here. As if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office. But they do. But a poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic people. It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
He argued that constant outrage isn't a substitute for reflection. Elections don't swing because of conspiracies alone. They also shift when voters feel unheard or dismissed. Instead of blaming every outcome on external forces, he said it may be worth acknowledging where messaging and priorities have drifted away from what many people care about. Ignoring that reality doesn't change it. It only widens the gap.
there's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common sense.
Maher also noted that not every voter who supported Trump fits the stereotypes regularly pushed in media conversations. Some people simply felt alienated by cultural debates that seemed disconnected from everyday life. When policies and rhetoric begin to sound extreme or disconnected from common sense values, people look elsewhere, even if they don't fully embrace the alternative. That doesn't make them villains. It makes them frustrated participants in the system.
Well, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
In the end, Maher's response wasn't loud or theatrical. It was steady, pointed, and unapologetically direct. He highlighted the irony of a show built around viewpoints, reacting so defensively when someone expressed one that challenged their own. The exchange became a moment where public debate collided with performative certainty, and the result was hard to ignore. Whether people agreed with him or not, his critique forced the conversation to confront something uncomfortable. Consistency matters, and when it disappears, audiences notice.